be live. So let's see on Twitter, YouTube, and everything.
One sec. I don't see YouTube. Okay, I see your stream on Twitter. Let me just post these. Post this. Okay, I see your stream on Twitter. Let me just post these.
I can hear us both, which is surprising news.
Yes. Okay. So I see. Let me just open YouTube. I'm going to share YouTube everywhere. How is everyone doing in the newfound alt season? That's the question. Okay, hi guys. Hope you are doing well. Bitcoin is doing well, so I suppose everyone should be happy. No one is arguing on the timeline. Everyone likes each other. I'm sure that's not really happening. I haven't really used Twitter much in the last week since we last streamed. So I don't really know what's been going on. But okay. Hi guys, welcome to the next stream. As always, the streams are kind of sponsored by BONKbot. The link I just shared in the chat will give you a access to their new platform. You know, what in what time when, if not now, market is pretty active at the moment. So I'm sure that there is a plenty of opportunities for the trench warriors as well. So if you are into that, I think the BONKbot and their terminal is best to do it when it comes to a bunch of different functionalities. Therefore, you should check that out, and obviously it's going to help us. It's going to help keep the streams running. Because like I always say, we are only doing this for money. So, okay, let's talk about what's been kind of going on. Yeah, so we spoke last week. I don't know
Tuesday,
what
right
day
before the pump.
Yeah. And I spoke about me being long. So I will kind of take it from there. Yeah, I longed last week, around this 100K area. Obviously, we had a kind of a goth candles, mostly on Thursday, which sent us to 118, then 122. For once, I think my kind of a biggest contribution to all of these streams tends to be having some kind of bias on Bitcoin. This time around, I don't really have much to say, to be quite fair. It's a price discovery. If you care about my positions, I actually closed out most of my perp longs. I still have some spot. The reason I actually got out around 119 before we rallied to 122, so I kind of missed the last leg, and then we dumped yesterday, and we are actually trading around the price at where I exited my longs, which is the reason for that was, to be quite frank, I was just up bunch of money. I see that very nice comment on Twitter. Yeah. So so yeah, I'm not long at the moment.
Yeah, I see it now too. I blocked you, bro.
Nice. Yeah, so I'm not.
Not you, Adam.
Okay. He said, yeah, it was directly to you. Can you just unblock him? I will just follow him real quick.
No.
But no, I'm no longer long. I think Bitcoin, to be quite fair, is still looking pretty solid. It's price discovery. Obviously, open interest is elevated. We are at all-time high, so that's not really a surprise. Funding rates are pretty decent. It's not, you know, like we definitely saw higher funding rates in the past from, you know, around beginning of the year. With the funding, it's a little bit tricky if you kind of go back and look into some of these, like, you know, like even if you look at like 2021 top, and obviously this is like a very different market, but like you don't really get that like insane funding rates at the top. Like if you look at like March last year, we had rally from, you know, like 30K basically from an ETF got approved, you know, that rally from like 30 to 70, let's say. That was done on very elevated funding rates. But then as market kind of started to range, and then kind of biggest correction came in around June, from June to July. At the time, the funding rate was very kind of chill. And similar thing happened in the beginning of this year, when we rallied from basically Trump elections, you know, 60 whatever to 100 whatever. You know, very elevated funding during November and December, but then, you know, you can say that the biggest correction from January to April, that once again happened on pretty kind of chill funding rate. So I really like to use these things in my trading, you know, like when you have like big increase in the open interest, you know, you kind of consult the funding rates and basis and all of these things to see if it's really very much, you know, if it's really overheated or not. Based on what we have now, I think futures basis is also around like 8%. Yeah, 8%, which is, you know, still like, you know, end of the year was around 15, 20. So there is still room to go. Just kind of my observation from these like extremes when we rallied quickly, and then there was like a bigger correction, then the funding doesn't really kind of, you know, like in February, basically after the inauguration, I think the funding was even negative for like small periods, and we still made a correction from, you know, 100 to like 70, 80K. So something to keep in mind. But other than that, you know, I think Bitcoin is looking still great. We had this big spot sell wall. I kind of mentioned that on prior streams. When I actually, you know, going to collect cloud quickly, I kind of posted the longs as I was taking it and the whole reasoning for it. I'm not sure if it was like before or after the stream. But yeah, that spot wall kind of got eaten through. We have now again some at the highs, but it's not that insane. Or it's not at those extreme we had. Options market, you know, if we quickly look at that skew, I mentioned this on the last stream, which is once again something that I also look at, is also around 0%, is like negative 2% right now on Velo. If you go to the options tab, the 25 delta skew on 1 month, which I like to use as kind of a reasonable look back. You know, it's not at any kind of extremes, you know, like November, January, basically, where before we had that bigger correction, I think it was around, yeah, like -8, you know, was the low. So we didn't have, I would say, that like a complete blow off situation where, you know, even though if it would like take time to kind of settle down, like you would see at the tops, basically, you would see these like big blow off moves. I don't think we have that now. So BTC is looking pretty solid. But yeah, like I said, you know, I'm not going to lot of here in a spot and chill, because like most of my kind of conviction bets are done in perps. So I closed most of my exposure. I still have some exposure by a spot, but it's not that big now. I'm overall pretty happy. You know, I feel like I was kind of mostly longing since April, which kind of paid off. I think I had like one short. Well, I took like one short since April, basically, and other trades that I did were longs that ended up paying up. Yeah, but like at the moment, I don't really know. I don't really have much to say, to be quite fair, because yeah, we are at price discovery. Obviously, like any kind of pullbacks we would get into this 100K area on higher time frames would be like should hold. That's like very classic support and resistance flip. But But yeah, other than that, it's like if you look at like 2020, like we had a big breakout after COVID basically, and then kind of came to the retest. Like it's support and resistance is like not really something that I think I should explain to you. But yeah, right now I'm just kind of observing. Let me just quick look. Is it elevated OI concern? Yeah, I mean, like elevated open interest is like, yeah, like obviously it's like when you have open interest elevated, which right now it is, but like you have it elevated in a range where like basically the situation in like November to February, or like the range basically last year, since from March to November, like when market was just doing nothing, like that's kind of concern, right? Like because market is clearly going sideways, it's just kind of fucking around. Like then you get these like traps, quote unquote, trap setups where people just try to force this breakout and get punished for it. But right now, like we very clearly broke out from like 7 months of sideways consolidation basically. It was like a little bit of a correction into April with the tariffs and everything, but like this is like a range breakout situation, so it's going to be very like obviously you will have elevated OI because people are obviously buying this. But that's why I kind of like to use stuff like funding and looking at like bases and stuff like that to see if, because like you need there needs to be a buying for market to go up, right? Like market is just not going to, like people have to buy this shit to, for price to go higher. That's like not the issue, but like in crypto, I think one thing which is like very good and like very easy is the fact that we have both spot and perps, and usually spot is this kind of a, and spot can be at these days also kind of translated into ETF flows, I guess. But basically, nothing which is like the stuff that is not derivatives. Like you need to see that buying as well, and I think at the moment, and Runner will have much more information on this, but I think ETFs are still buying. There is this still quite a clear interest from like institutions and stuff, and and for me to be like, is spot buying can be very easy answered by just looking at funding rates, looking at bases, which because they are still very relatively low, it means that this is not only driven by derivatives market, which is healthy, like I said. So yeah, it is what it is. I obviously would love to see some kind of pullback. I don't think I love idea of shorting this necessarily. Like when we have these things, like when you have these like breakouts, and obviously there are sometimes they are these kind of traps, right? Like BTC, like there were plenty of situations where we broke from a kind of a sideways range and everyone's celebrating and drawing Fibonacci extensions or whatever to 150K, to just this kind of can obviously completely fail and roll over, and this being top or whatever. But I don't know, from my experience, I just hate to short price discovery because I feel like you will get clout on Twitter maybe, but other than that, it's just like like overall, I obviously trade a bunch of markets. I don't only trade crypto, but I can very easily tell you that my worst trades are the trades where I try to go against the trend, and I try to be very smart, thinking that I know more than other people, and just try to fade stuff which clearly goes to the upside. So like I wouldn't really want to short this. Like if we would start to go sideways here, form a new range, for a couple days, couple weeks maybe. If we like break down below 110K and show no signs of buying, sure, I'm all over shorting that. But right now, yeah, I just feel like and Bitcoin is only crypto basically, or only coin, this which is like liquid, which is like at basically above the all-time highs. So yeah, like I can short other coins, and I actually have short in other, like I have a trade running which I kind of can cover in a second. So yeah, I think for BTC, from my point of view, I'm just kind of chilling for this week, I guess.
I think you said it pretty well. Excuse me. It's interesting. I feel like you've said it, you touched on it, and we've been obviously beating on this drum for a year now. But I would almost be very close to saying like the looking at order flow for Bitcoin is just completely pointless because you have these it's just amount of volume and buying from outside of our usual venues, if you will. Because what is open interest, right? What is open interest? It's positioning, leverage positioning across Binance, Bybit, right? Hyperliquid, all the usual. But then you look at the amount of BTC purchased from be that Sailor, all the I'm not sure if you've seen yesterday a SPAC from Adam Back, a $4 billion SPAC on Bitcoin. It's just all these TradFi
Yeah,
vehicles, to put it short, not to bore everybody to death. And I think that's why Bitcoin and ETH have been just outperforming, to keep it very short. With heavy heart, I have to admit, ETH outperformance. But not even relative to Bitcoin, but just relative to every other shit on the market. And simplest explanation is in Velodata, you can go to TradFi section and you can look at the inflows in last month. Like Bitcoin did 7 billion and ETH did almost 2 billion inflows. Then on top of it, you obviously have to add for Bitcoin Sailor and all the copycats, and for ETH you have to add the Tom Lee company, which Bitmine I believe is the name, or BitShares, Bitmines, irrelevant, and SBET obviously Sharplink. I mean, I feel like I'm repeating myself, but if you look at performance of these vehicles, they outperformed ETH massively. So thanks for playing, join my paid group, but it's just, I don't know. I do find it kind of counterproductive to even look at altcoins when you have TradFi vehicles doing high multiples.
yeah,
I just feel like, all the hype or all the like shiny stuff is shifting away. And
yeah, for sure.
I
Like,
think maybe with the price discovery, today's what we could cover is like levels to look out to buy, but I feel like you kind of covered that. Like 110, I
yeah,
think.
like TradFi is a good one. Like Coinbase has been doing very well still. They had this rally. I think it was an announcement of perps in the US. They continue to go up. Circle slowed down a little bit, but it's still looking pretty strong. But yeah, the ETF flows are, obviously it's a big driver now. I don't think there are like any other ETFs that get this much like interest and like very consistent inflows. Yeah, if you look at like you can always look at Velo, you can look at CoinGlass. Right before we rallied basically from to this 120K, there was a basically like almost record amount. We had like 2 billion of inflows basically in like 2 days. Market basically went up whatever percent. So yeah, that's obviously a big factor now. Makes things a little bit more complicated. I think we did something about it. I think on a intraday basis, especially, would be pretty. It's kind of difficult. And I was like when BTC was breaking out, I was looking at and I saw some tweets like there were these like open interest buildups on like lower time frames, and people are like, oh, Bybit apes are doing this and that. This is
Yeah,
going to flush, blah blah blah, and then but like market just continue to go up because you have this like $2 billion worth of ETF flows
like
coming
a
in like
day.
48 hours.
Yeah,
Yeah, so yeah, that's what I kind of meant a little bit. I think from like higher time frame, I think the overall derivatives and spot is still plays a role, but yeah, on intraday basis, I think this is pretty kind of complicated. So okay, let's talk about altcoins. I actually have a trade, and I'm pretty sure you will have much more to kind of say about that. But I am long ETH,
okay. I thought you were gonna say
uh,
Pump.fun.
and I am also short Sol right now. So I'm basically long Sol. Sorry, I'm short Sol ETH. Um, my reasoning for that is probably much less interesting than with all of these things happening, around ETH and Sol these days. I just kind of looked at the kind of relative performance. I think Sol has been lacking quite a bit. Over in last week, obviously it went up, but much less than ETH or
So
Bitcoin.
let me
ETH,
just on my screen I'll have year to date spaghettis, and it's not even
yeah,
close.
yeah, for sure. I think
And
Solana
like,
is trading.
given Eve has been the biggest piece of shit for 2 years, so
Yeah, like Sol yearly open is like 220. ETH is coming very close. Yeah, ETH is basically. So yeah, ETH I think is a very good play with bunch of different reasons. Runner will have much more to say. To be quite fair,
why do you have made
I
bull post? Can you do the honors?
yeah, my like ETH is, but Sol is still up today. I think Sol is up even more than ETH, so my trade is not that amazing at the moment because I need to ideally, like, my ideal case for this was that like we are going to have a move in ETH and Sol is just not going to do anything. So Sol being up today is not the best, but yeah, I feel like the next kind of rotation could be clearly to ETH, not because there's this kind of pyramid uh, infographic or anything, but I think ETH is getting quite a lot of this kind of a institutional interest with stuff like SBET. I think Robinhood also had this conference like a month ago or something, and which was like very positive for ETH for the reasons I don't remember. But yeah, my bet now is that basically ETH is going to get this kind of a moment of institutional interest, basically what Bitcoin has been getting for this whole time, and obviously ETH being like dumping, so like the sell-off was so aggressive in ETH since beginning of the year till April to like I know we have been making fun of ETH for like a long time, but yeah, like the sell-off we had was just like so brutal that I feel like this is like a perfect time for ETH to do something, and just have really um, time to shine. And yeah, I'm kind of thinking why why I complicated this for myself by shorting Sol. Uh, yeah, I think two reasons. Like Sol, there is like just yeah, I feel like Sol has been kind of lacking. Because obviously like we can have a discussion on. I know there's been like a lot of these like Sol still benefits from all the on-chain stuff as well, but it kind of goes without saying that like if you really want the coin go up a lot, you need to have this like institutional adoption. Like that's the catalyst that's like really is going to move the price a lot, which I don't think Sol is having at the moment. Obviously, we are still waiting for ETFs, but even the CME futures, I think, are still kind of underwhelming on Solana. Um, so, so yeah, I kind of, like with Bitcoin being at 120K, with the possibility that, even like I think correction from 120 to like 110, 105, which would still be in this range of like retesting the breakout point and not breaking out the trend would be pretty brutal for like most of the altcoins. So I just felt like I still have enough PTSD to not to be like naked long ETH. So yeah, I basically paired that with so short. But yeah, it's not the best trade at the moment. I entered pretty late, uh, like basically on Monday. So like there's like one good day. Today is not that great. So so yeah, we will see. But that's basically kind of the trade that I have running at the moment.
I think it makes a lot of sense. Eve being strong is multiple things. Uh, Again, the boring TradFi build doomer runner, but 2 billions of inflows, and I think that continues. So if you look at the inflows or just like even market cap adjusted, I know we cannot do the maths, but I believe the parity of market caps of Bitcoin and ETH is 0.1 ETH BTC or 0.2. Do you happen to remember by any chance?
ETH sorry, what?
So like the market cap, when do Bitcoin and ETH in terms of market cap, when do they converge? I believe it's 0.1 for ETH BTC. So we
Yeah,
can look
I
at
have no
ETH
idea.
being like 20% of Bitcoin, whatever. But if you look at the inflows, they're significantly higher on relative basis. So just like you to super simplify, the inflows into ETH are higher than into Bitcoin. Therefore, the price
Yeah,
action.
based on like market. Yeah,
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 yeah, yeah. And
that makes no sense.
it's very it sounds retarded, but it is true. And I think your argument with Sol ETH is makes a lot of sense to me, because two European PTSD traders, altcoin haters. Look, it's very simple. If you look at Solana inflows of the Rex and CME, right, it's basically doing no volume so far, which it has a big potential obviously to change, but it's going to be in October, which
Yeah.
like by the time it's October, ETH can be at, I don't want to say 10k, but like ETH can go so far.
I saw some tweet that ETH is going to 140K in next
Okay, see you
couple of
guys
years.
in the
So
next stream, and thanks BONKbot. No, I know it was the guy from Bankless. No,
yeah,
but so I think like look with ETH strength, that is one thing. The inflows, SBET, you have Tom Lee, all the institution, and one interesting thing I haven't seen many people on CT. I try to be useful at least on streams and on Telegram. On Twitter, I'm just purposefully useless. But today is the vote on something called Clarity Act and Genius Act, which White House calls like a crypto week this week. TLDR, if it passes, which it's most likely gonna pass because fucking Trump himself is like apparently calling these people who voted in Senate against it. He's like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. He's literally used the word furious. So if this passes, to make it quick, it's gonna be good for ETH, good for DeFi, good for legislation, good for, all these. Like Ethereum is gonna benefit more than Bitcoin from it, is what I'm trying to say.
yeah.
Then you have obviously fucking Trump having his World Liberty Finance thingy, which again is the same narrative of stablecoins, right? The revenue, blah blah blah. So all this
Yeah,
benefits ETH.
so basically the whole ETH rally exists now so people don't talk about Epstein files.
Uh, yeah, let's not talk about it. I've been to none. No.
Yeah, no, I guess so. Yeah, like obviously, like I said, like for me, I guess like if Sol really continues to go up, which it still can, like there is this kind of a catch up possibility for that. Especially I guess if Bitcoin wouldn't do much here, and we would really see kind of rally in altcoins, I'm sure like Sol would catch up as well, and a bunch of other coins would catch up as well. But yeah, for me, I still feel like that like if there's one thing we saw in the last year and a half is that this kind of institutional adoption being this kind of very, very strong narrative, which that's basically my bet that it is going to just benefit from that now. All the hate of the past several years aside. Um,
Well, but
let's
it was
see if that's going
justified,
to.
right? Like I find it hilarious. Like it's 10 IQ and not gonna make it as a trader if you're stuck in the old bias. Of like, I mean, ETH has been underperforming since September 2022 until it started getting ETF inflows, and like the
Yeah,
whole
yeah,
it's just
yeah,
if you unable on higher time frames to adjust to that, I mean it's gonna be tough time trading.
yeah,
There's still people
for
calling
sure.
the tether truders, right? It's just like, what are you doing?
Yeah, for sure. I think like when you kind of, I think one of the best things, and this really kind of helped me a lot. And when especially since I trade a bunch of stuff, like I have no idea. For the most part, or like I don't care really about what it is from like a fundamental point of view, at least. So like when you obviously uh take aside the fact that each foundation is like the most evil organization on the earth, uh but at the same time there are inflows and there's a bunch of basically signals that should that like you saw on a BTC
Yes,
working very well, and it's
exactly.
like basically a very similar thing is happening on ETH. Obviously, you can go and start arguing that ETH is not Bitcoin and so on and so forth. That's obviously true, but like Runner said, ETH is much smaller coin than Bitcoin, so you don't need the same amount of money coming in. You need basically this kind of 20% of the money uh, to see very positive results. And so far it looks like it's happening. So it's good to
Oh yeah. Oh wow.
keep.
So market cap of Bitcoin is 2.3 trillion and ETH is 380 bill, meaning it's not 1 to 5. I was completely off there.
Yeah, it's like
It's like 1 to
1.8.
7 almost. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But yeah, the
yeah.
point.
So
Sorry. Go ahead.
no, no, go on, go on.
Just like I guess the very last thing for me is it's interesting how crypto natives achieve nothing. And I think it's kind of we can kind of move on to the next section, which I would love to talk about Pump.fun tokens, since BONKbot sponsored stream, so it's on the topic. But basically, Bitcoin moved the most when Bitcoin got the inflows from Wall Street, effectively, and ETH is now mooning. It's not because fucking Kobe tweeted, "Hey, I like ETH again." Like, sure, that doesn't hurt, but it is BlackRock. I'm sorry, like you
Yeah,
and good. God bless. If you look at BlackRock's top 5 earning ETFs, IBIT is number 1, I believe. Meaning,
yeah,
they like the product, right? Like they like to make money. That's how they make money as a business. So, inshallah, or whatever people say these days, that's good for all of us. But I just wanted to be crystal clear that we should be thanking Larry Fink. So, yeah. And if we look at some of the crypto native coins, and sorry, one last thing to that point, like these guys can only buy Bitcoin and ETH as of right now, right? Would you agree with that statement? Like they cannot buy anything else really without ETFs
yeah.
and
Yeah, basically, I think like the like you still can buy spot. Like I think the regulations in the US especially became are more and more loose. Like there are perps now, or I don't know if they are live, but I think Kraken and Coinbase are going to roll out these perps for US customers pretty soon-ish if they are not live yet. Uh, and people can obviously always buy spot, but I think like US people are very like every nation has its own thing. Some nations are very famous by with like investing to real estate, and US is very stock market driven, right? Like this is like the big thing in the United States. And I think a lot of people are just feeling way more used to and comfortable with buying ETFs. Because obviously ETFs you have SPY and you have all these like other ETFs. So although people can buy spot, I think the fact that you have these ETFs which are liquid, which are getting a lot of volume, is way more important for people in the United States. Uh, as European, as my European opinion on the matter. But yeah, for sure. Like I think uh, the coin having the ETF is just much more attractive for a lot more people, and like older people as well. Like having your own wallet or just like doing all this stuff is just not something that uh people
it's just
need
shitty
to
experiences,
do.
call it what it is.
Yeah, yeah. Like if you ever traded, like if you have like Interactive Brokers account or like any other big TradFi brokerage account, it's just like so much easier at the end of the day. You just like type the name of the ETF, you buy it, you see it sitting there in the account. You don't need to send it to any address. All these things are quite safe to hold. So yeah, I think the ETFs are obviously a very big thing, and especially when you have this institutional inflow, right? Like you are not going to get institutions most likely buying, spot uh Mudeng or something.
Yeah, well, according to Twitter, you're wrong, and you don't get it. I've seen interesting argument from Udi. Not sure if you've seen that post. You said
Yeah.
you haven't been on Twitter, but Basically, if you look at chart of IBIT, that's what the usual the usual boomer sees, which I think is kind of interesting actually, because that is true. Since I'm the one saying non-stop, oh, inflows, IBIT is basically doing all the inflows, pretty much
Yeah.
99%. I apologize to all the other issuers. It's literally, holy shit, they're like the biggest by multiples. So if the person logs into their whatever, app they might be using or interface, they see IBIT performance, and the chart went from 28 to 67, which isn't as crazy if you look at Bitcoin historical chart and just go, for Bitcoin index chart on like monthly log. It's insane.
Yeah.
Or do you think there's anything to that, or it's just a nice, fun little exercise?
Yeah, I think like obviously
Like new chart.
it's yeah, yeah. I guess it's like the effect might be a little bit stronger with some of these like altcoins that are going to rebrand rather than with maybe BTC, but yeah, and I don't know what like other ETFs. Like I was looking at uh like Baito, for example, which used to be like
Whoops.
3 years ago the main one. Before
Yeah,
before
ProShares.
Hybrid. Yeah, and that's like not doing so well. That's like pretty much uh, quite low still. So yeah, it's just like interesting to think that even these ETFs are not really one-to-one with Bitcoin, but yeah, I think IBIT now and also the FBTC from Fidelity as well, it has been tracking Bitcoin price quite well. Uh,
Yeah,
which is
that's
basically,
that's my Solana bull case, right? Is the Fidelity ETF, which is coming, but
yeah,
again, we're in the middle of July. We're in like Bitcoin is parabolic breaking out, and you're waiting another 3 months minimum for Solana ETF,
yeah.
which I think can be just a dangerous game.
Hmm. Yeah,
So TLDR, I
yeah,
like your short.
yeah. We will see. We will see. It's my entry is not the best, so I don't know. I think like the worst case scenario, I will just cut the so short, and hopefully ETH is going to save me, and be I will apologize for all the hate. Uh, okay, so yeah, I think you mentioned the pump token. Obviously, it was like the biggest thing of the week.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be very straightforward. I have no idea. I I wasn't looking at it. I know there was like some stuff on Bybit, some like
Mm-hmm.
raise or whatever. Yeah, I'm just going to let you go through it. I
Okay.
wasn't trading this. I wasn't paying any attention to this at all. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Okay, I mean, so obviously Pump.fun is a platform that you can launch coin on, right? What is interesting in telemetry, we can look at the sole launchpad volume, so you can filter out Pump.fun volumes in last 30 days. It's decreasing, and when we look at Let's Bonk, it's increasing, but irrelevant. Let me be on the topic. So if you look at Pump, we obviously what the platform is. It's done incredibly well for itself. I have some data from. I tried to look at the data from DeFi Llama. They made fuck ton of money. They made $800 million worth of just like in profit, right? In fees and revenue.
Yeah.
And the team has a, let's say, history. I'm not gonna go full Kanye, but has a history of just selling non-stop, right? Because the fees are in Solana and they sell the Solana on Kraken. They keep the cash. What they
Yeah.
do with the cash is a mystery, but they do the ICO round on chain. So first of all, they do ICO round for institutions, which was 730 millions. Which is your usual VCs. Half of the crypto Twitter working at funds is usually these type of participants. Then there was a retail ICO, which was on the website itself and on multiple centralized exchanges, Bybit, and a series of exchanges that, in my opinion, are complete dog shit, which I just now nuked the opportunity of them sponsoring us, but hey. Shit like MXC, Gate, like what?
Yeah.
But so half of crypto Twitter was trying to do the ICO on Bybit because the only quote unquote legit exchange, and on Pump.fun website you had to KYC. But TLDR, the Pump.fun ICO sold out in 12 minutes. Bybit completely failed. And Bybit, like I had buddies who tried to put in like multiple $1 million into the ICO, and they got in return $1,000 worth of spot trading fees rebate. just so yeah, Bybit failed completely. It launched, and I don't know. You tell me. Look, let's just look at charts. So to give you some stats, ICO happened at 40 cents or 0.004. So it's significantly above ICO. Everybody who participated made a lot of money, and I think that was a great trade. You simply participated in the ICO. If you wanted to, when perps were trading at like 70, meaning you're all up like 70%, you could have easily shorted, perps. You had pre-market on Hyperliquid or Binance. And it's just, I don't have to explain why you would short. You close the short, you sell your spot. I think that's insanely good trade. As per usual, I just fucking shorted it like 7 times. It was one of the best trading days I've had in this year. There's just the usual setups I've taken, like Coinbase listing. That was a free short, if you ask me. And yeah, I mean, the state of it is the coin is now a few days old. The ICO happened a couple days ago. And Pump.fun team, that's why I have so many tabs. They started doing buybacks. But I think one thing that is worth mentioning is just the team basically does not communicate anything. Like I'm not shitting you anything. No information, nada. So I believe it is like a bit of strategy because you don't want to have people front run you, which I think is fair. But yeah, that is the situation. Pump.fun, one of the most successful crypto apps in history, and technically this juggernaut of on-chain trading and on-chain grifting, if you will, now has a coin. The coin is, I don't know, you tell me, it is currently sitting at 6.2 billion FDV. Is it cheap? Is it expensive? Is it fair value? I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, well, I don't think I can tell you that as well. But
I'm sure people
yeah,
in the chat would call us bearish retards, but it's not doing much.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. It hasn't done that much. Is there? I don't know. Like I feel like it's kind of interesting to look at this, and I was looking at Fartcoin as well because I felt like it has been this kind of a liquid bet on this like on-chain meme coin, place. So I'm kind of thinking about if the pump token is going to if it's going to replace that or not. But
And
yeah,
now open chart of Bonk. Just like I do want to curious to hear your thoughts on Bonk chart.
Yeah, that's been doing very well.
That's up 3x, more than 3x.
Yeah.
While everybody is like masturbating over 3% moves on Pump.fun. Like I see in my watch list, Bonk is up 14%, Pump is down 8.
And the launchpad on Bonk is doing like more volume, I think I saw, or something like that. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good looking chart. I'm going to be honest, I haven't really paid much attention to, but yeah, Bonk is definitely looking decent, and we are not obviously only saying that because we are sponsored by BONKbot, but yeah, it's
chart,
been
right?
yeah, it's going up, so
Good coin.
that's yeah. Cool. Yeah. So I guess you have Pump, you have Bonk, as these kind of two main contenders or two main bets on any kind of on-chain related stuff at the moment. And yeah, Bonk is looking solid. Funding rate is still also very small. Very at the baseline basically, considering how much this went up. Okay.
So that's kind of it, I think, for Pump. I think maybe another point before somebody just watches last 2 minutes and thinks it's just bear posting. I think the buybacks are interesting because again, the team has at bare minimum $800 million from previous revenue, and they also raised 1.3 billion. So they have over $2 billion. In theory, I don't know what the fuck they're doing with the treasury. I don't think there's public information. And they bought 20 mil in one day. So, you know, if we extrapolate, probably pointless to extrapolate, but I think there's going to be buying a lot more. And there's speculation of the airdrop, which I think would be good for Solana on-chain ecosystem, because it goes without saying that most people using most people using, like, I guess, sure, most of these trading platforms just end up losing money, especially like Pump.fun. So so it's kind of TLDR on Pump and all set up.
I completely agree. I think I'm looking at the bonk chart still. The open interest is basically coming to all-time highs. You know, price is still a bit lower, but if we would get a pullback, I think that's a good looking chart. Okay, so do we have anything else? I think not really. Do you have any questions? That's a good time to ask what you people are doing. What you have been doing in the last couple of days, weeks. No one has been doing anything.
I think people are, you know, having fun. Things are going up, especially like ETH ecosystem for a change after being so fucked.
Yeah, I would assume that stuff like Aave is looking pretty solid. Aave is looking good. I think Aave is like, Uniswap also not that bad. Yeah, the DeFi coins. Well, I would say Aave is pretty
very nice.
Pretty good looking. At the same time, though, if you look at Aave ETH, it's not that great. And I think, you know, something that we mentioned in the past is that, like, what's the point to buy a beta when beta is not doing? Yeah, if that's the word. Like I know that there are probably, you know, a bunch of altcoins doing pretty well, but yeah, we are just too boring to just trade the majors. But yeah, I think, you know, if you really want to, like, especially for this ETH stuff, I think, you know, like, if you want to buy something with where you think it's going to outperform ETH, you better make sure that it's outperforming still, which, you know, ETH has been very strong, so I think it's pretty tough to outperform ETH at the moment, at least. Okay, do you guys trust this rally that's occurring over the summer? Yeah, I mean, I'm not the biggest, like, a seasonality person.
If you look at, you know, like, you have summer, from mid-July onwards, you could argue, you know, the seasonality. I'm just trying to play devil advocate because usually I'm the guy who's just bear posting, but we had a pretty significant rally in 2021, which was, you know, the bull run, which I would argue this year is a bull run year 2. You know, if you were to play the 4-year cycle argument. So.
Yeah, like, for sure, like, we have actual narrative. You know, it's pretty obvious at this point, so, like, there is a reason for this to go up. Overall, I don't know. I don't really care that much. Like, obviously, you know, these kind of classic things, you know, sell in May, market goes. I don't know. Like, we spoke about this, I think, last year sometimes, that I feel like the seasonal stuff and seasonal trends are very effective for, like, fucking, like, agriculture markets when you have, like, wheat and it's raining somewhere in Brazil, and that's affecting the prices, because, you know, like, that's kind of like a seasonality to me for this, you know, like, you know, like, I like, you had all these institutions, you know, decided to buy shit ton of ETFs. I don't think they were kind of questioning if they are going to do it in March or if they are going to do it in August. So yeah, I think seasonality works. Obviously, when it works, you see it all over the place. But it's very, I think, no matter what is your kind of a trading time frame horizon, how long you hold trades, it can be very costly. Where you're gonna be like, oh, it's summer is coming. Like you are sitting here in like beginning of the June and be like, yeah, the whole timeline is telling me sell in May, walk away. It's going to be slow summer, nothing is going to happen, and then fucking like beginning of July, you get this very nice opportunity to long BTC from like 100k to 120, and your only reasoning for this, for not taking the trade, like, oh, it's summer, like why it would go down in July, because like it's sunshine outside, like what's the, yeah, like it doesn't make much sense to me. So I think seasonality is a little bit of a meme, but for BTC at least. Do you think we are in the last weeks of the cycle? I have no idea if where we are. I'm not really. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's also a little bit of a meme, if you ask me. So
I could not. Like I know one thing. Sailor has many millions left to buy Bitcoin. But I'm like a fucking closeted Bitcoin maxi, even though not so closeted. But like there is no sign of these guys running out of money, is how I'm looking at it, and
yeah,
it's just like I will be bearish when they stop buying for like a month, and we will see the price action. It will fucking nosedive. But Sailor is very open, Craighead, about just non-stop buying.
And like prices, fucking going up. It's like, like if you, like you have a bunch of like, if you use price action, if you use indicators, whatever, and you go to a little bit of a higher time frame, like we are still trending up. I think like it's like it's not that kind of a rocket science. Like if you stop, and we actually had it, like the short that I took was around June when we had this like a false break above the new all-time highs, because like at the time when we were in the range for like a month or a little bit over maybe, and we were getting these inflows, the market price wasn't really going up. So I was like, okay, this is interesting because you get this thing, but it's not kind of like price action is, and I'm not really that big kind of into like the technical analysis. Like I know that Runner is not doing this as well. I'm not doing this as well. Like I'm not really going to the screen every day and go from like monthly to daily time frame and draw lines and levels and doing top down analysis and stuff like that. But like I'm a big fan of doing these like quote unquote fundamental, looking at these like fundamental indicators, because like at the end of the day it's everything is like supply and demand. Like it's like the fact that there is ETF flows, it's clearly shown by fucking ETF inflows, right? Like we are not really speculating here and saying like, yeah, this is not like I believe, I remember that like a couple of years ago it was like institutions are buying this and that is buying, but like, and you were like, hey, where is the proof? And there was no proof, but like now you have very clear proof, obviously. So
remember, Saudis are buying.
Yeah. all these kind of like different memes, basically, telling people, just mentioning on timeline who is buying, but like there was like zero proof for that, right? So now institutions are clearly buying, and we had a period in June where market wasn't really going up based on that. So I felt like this was pretty decent short, and it kind of corrected again. But in June, at the end of the June, we like I think there was this war news. Like my initial long sub 100k was not really based on all of this. It was based on a that kind of war situation which happened Yeah, that feels like it was like a year ago. Well, it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Market, not going down on the bad news, kind of a different trade idea ended up working. And the long that I took basically last week or 10 days ago or whatever at 108K was once again this like, people or institutions are buying. This thing is clearly going up. It's about, it looks like it's about to break. There is like bunch of reasons for it to break. It might break, and it broke. So and once again, if we're gonna get in more inflows and market is not going to continue to go up, once again, that's probably a time, because like I guess that's like the biggest narrative now. All these tariffs and all of these things kind of lost meaning a little bit, especially since Trump has been flip-flopping so much, and all of these things like change so quickly. But yeah, I think your kind of best signal to say that this is a top is that when you still going to see inflows, when you're still going to see this kind of a discussion, how amazing Bitcoin is, how these institutions are going to buy whatever amount, but price of BTC is actually not going to continue to go up. That's probably, I think, obviously it's very hard to say. It's very hard to say, especially at the moment. But if I would be looking for like a cycle tops, I think that would be probably something that I would be looking at.
Yeah, and it's like not even close. I think it's a very. I understand the defensive mindset. Definitely been there, done that many times. But like, there's zero signs of froth, from funding to premiums to
Yeah, it is. It is nowadays, for sure.
and like
Someone was
TradFi at all
mentioning,
time high every single day. Just
yeah, there
ETH
is
breaking up.
actually, to the guy who asked, yeah, like low volume summer fart. Well, that's not the case now, right? Like, yeah, I know that that's kind of like a meme, like Insilico mentioned this as a meme that, like, but that's like a intraday stuff, like I don't think he really ever meant like something like besides, very quick rotations, whatever. Like, you can go to Velo, somewhere you will find the volumes, just BTC volume, like very simple thing, right? Like Bitcoin volume. On 14th, we had the highest volume in the last like 3 months. Like the volume is not low by any means, right? So I wouldn't say, and you have historical ETF flows coming in, or not historical, but very consistent and very strong ETF flows. So like the volume is not really low in Bitcoin, at least. So
And we had like the
yeah,
highest
and
liquidation day in years too.
yeah. So yeah,
Dude,
and
ETH is
yeah,
fucking going for it.
and even bit like like another thing, CME open interest is still pretty low on BTC. It's like still has, its peak was like 22 billion, and now it's only 17 billion. This is in dollars. In coins, it's even lower now. Like there is 150,000 coins on CME futures. The peak was 211. Back then price was 110K, so the price difference is not that insane. Like you don't have that much signals that this is really overheating market, and the volume is there. Like you cannot really say this is like a low volume summer because yeah. Do you think the tariffs would slap back for Trump? I don't know. I don't
Old
know.
news. I don't think anybody gives a shit anymore.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we talked about a bunch of things. There is probably, since there are not that many questions, uh, can you explain the flow on ends? I have no idea. I'm confused why the funding is basically the same when the perp selling is. Yeah, no idea. I have like, yeah, no, I don't
ENS?
know. I don't. Yeah, ENS.
If this fucking thing would work. And what is the question?
The question was that Why is funding same when perhaps selling and spot buying? Yeah, I don't know. I honestly
It's
I
just
mentioned
such a
this many
small
times.
cap at this point. Like the
Yeah,
open interest is $40 million,
I yeah, I
60.
have mentioned this many times. I'm not, afraid to say it. I think my overall edge in altcoins is much smaller than in the larger caps. Uh, and also this whole kind of order flow stuff is there's like so much more room to just make this insanely, hectic and doesn't just make much sense. Like oftentimes even on BTC it barely makes sense. So yeah, I think like altcoins it's just like a momentum uh thing. Like if I don't really trade that many altcoins, but like if I would be really active altcoin trader, I would literally just be probably like trading like momentum breakouts
Yeah.
on like the stuff that you want to do is like pull all the coins from like Binance or Hyperliquid or whatever, use like EMAs and just like trade the coins that go up. Like, it's as that's kind of simple as that, I guess. Um, yeah, just like take benefit from these like shorter term outperformances, but yeah, like the order flow stuff is pretty complicated. So, or not complicated, but can be very messy. So yeah.
I've unfortunately
Ooh.
haven't, even though it's like you certainly and me too. Like a lot of the content years ago have been like order flow oriented, but I just feel like it's still useful, but it's not. It's definitely not as much signal as it used to be,
Yeah, I don't know. Like
unfortunately.
the lower time frame, I remember tweeting that thing, and a lot of people had opinions, as they always do. To be quite fair, I was I'm not really actively day trading as well, so maybe I don't know actually, but um, yeah, it's just like it's just not as I don't think it's as straight because like when I got into crypto, um, actively trading crypto was basically like 2021, when I was day trading these like Thread 5 futures, and it was like quite complicated and quite kind of hectic and just hard, like extremely competitive market basically. And then I came to crypto, and you had, like it was at the time when BitMEX basically went kind of down, or like I started basically getting very interested in like a couple months before BitMEX, had this whole I don't know if it was like SEC or whatever it was, um, thing, and all the volumes basically left. But like when I started, I was only looking at BitMEX order flow for Bitcoin. It was like one place. It was like so easy, uh, and it was also very helping the fact that Bitcoin was just like going up, and you just like very clearly see people just shorting this, and like you were, yeah, I had like one of my best. I still remember this, like one of my best months. Uh, in trading BTC was in like 2020 when price just went up, and you can like very clearly see people just shorting this, and I was just like buying like retard and making money basically. And even after that, when BitMEX had this whole thing, like most of the flow shifted to Bybit because Binance was kind of shady with how they were sharing the data. So like you still had basically Bybit, then then FTX came, and like over these, it just basically became more and more uh, stuff to you have to look at, right? It's just more and more venues. Now you have ETFs. Options are doing quite a big volume as well, not only on Deribit, but also you have like people trade options on IBIT, like that's a super popular thing, especially in the US, just trading options on these ETFs as well. So yeah, it's just like I don't know. I just feel like, looking at what Bybit apes are doing, um, might not be the best thing to do. And obviously it's going to work. I think it's like it's still going to work in some of these cases, but I think that you are better off if you really want to just trade these like shorter term things. I think, for example, Pump, or like these new coins which like clearly drag, like when like you are not going to have any institutions trading Pump, for example, or even these other altcoins. So that's probably a better place to go. But yeah, just my 2 cents here. Okay, so with all of that being said, thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to long Ethereum to help my bags,
Going
and
short.
short Solana to help my bags. And with that being said, the streams are sponsored by BONKbot. So once again, thank you for sponsoring us. If you want to check out their new trading platform, there is a bunch of things you can do there. Probably your best bet now to go into all of these on-chain things, which are, now things are going up. So if you want to be kind of if you are in search for an easy mode, I guess this is as easy as you can get it. And yeah,
Yep.
with all of that